This is the Zorian Institute Oral History Project. We are with Mrs. Rebecca Avedikian in San Francisco, California. The date is April 16, 1988.
Okay.
Would you tell us your name, please?
Mrs. Rebecca Avedikian.
And what was your maiden name?
Matosyan.
Matosyan. Where were you born?
I was born in Yozgat, but raised in Talas, near Kayseri.
I see. And when were you born?
1899, August the 1st.
Is this a definite date that, or is it something that...
No, it's written in the Bible.
In your family Bible? I see. And how long did you live in Yozgat?
In Talas,
in Yozgat, where you were born?
Only 2 years.
I
Then
see.
we moved to Talas.
So,
We lived in Talas, attended American missionary schools until 1915.
okay. Let me ask a little bit about your family. Would you tell us your father's name?
My father's name is Kalust Matosyan.
And
My mother's name is Mariam.
what was her maiden name?
Der Simonia.
There's Simonia.
Her father was a priest of little town where they lived in.
Was this in Yozgat? Near Yozgat or?
It's in Yozgat, a small town called Keller.
I see.
That's where she was born.
That's where she was born. And where was your father born?
Same place.
Oh, so they were both from the town
from
of Keller,
Mhm.
and then they moved to live in
Talas.
Talas.
Mhm.
How many members were there in your family, in the house that you living with you?
I and my brother were born in Keller. My 2 sisters and a brother were born in Talas.
I see. So, and give us the names.
My oldest brother's name is Arsen, who is now lives in Fresno, 93 years old. Then I come.
Yes.
Then my younger sister, Anush,
Yes.
was born in Talas. Now she lives in New York.
I see.
My youngest sister, Siranush, now Karajian, lives in Long Beach.
I see.
My youngest brother, who was born 1908, is Parunak. They call him Harry now.
Harry, where
Harry
was he
Matosyan.
born? In
Talas.
In Talas. I
Mhm.
see. So you were 4
Yeah.
4 children.
No,
5 children.
3 sisters,
3
and
sisters,
2 brothers.
2 brothers. Okay. And were their grandparents living with you?
No, they were left in Keller.
But they were in Keller. But do you remember? Did you used to go visiting?
Yes. Every summer we used to spend our vacation with grandparents,
Is this both sides, both
Both
mothers
sides.
and fathers?
both sides.
What kind of place was Keller? Was that
It's
an?
an agricultural town.
Were there many different peoples there? Were there both Turks and Armenians, or?
No Turks, not many, mostly Armenians.
How far is Keller from?
2.5 days with a horse cart travel.
From Keller? That.
We used to live in Khans 2 nights, motels of
Right,
the mother.
Khans. Right. So and then you would get to. Were those your own horse carts?
No, we rented
You
them.
rented them. Why had your parents moved to Talas?
Because my father became a Protestant, the only way to get educated through the Bible was in Talas.
Oh, I see.
And then we had to be educated. Keller did not have an educational system. The girls never went to school. I think I'm the first girl that attended school as a girl.
From Talas?
Yeah.
Or from Keller?
From Keller. So we had to move to Talas to be educated.
I see. Had your mother gone to school?
No.
Did she ever learn to read or write?
She used to study my school books with me. Even though she was a priest's daughter, the girls were not allowed to attend. So my mother learned with me. After the little ones went to bed, I used to study and teach her my schoolwork.
Oh, I see. And now, was your father's family Protestant, or they were?
No, they were Rusa-Vorcha.
And also
my father is the first
Protestant. Was his family or your mother's family? What were their feelings about his becoming a Protestant?
They thought he had gone wrong.
But other than expressing an opinion, was there a conflict, or they accepted it? How did it work?
They were loving with each other. They could not understand this boy, intelligent boy, who wanted to learn more, and the only way he could learn was to come to Talas.
I see. Now, what was in Talas? Was there
missionary institutions?
Do you know who ran them, or whether they
Mr. Wingate was the boys' principal, and we had girl teachers for the girls' school.
These are the schools that you attended. Were these Americans? Was Mr.
American?
What denomination?
I never knew until I came to America. I attended Silver Lake International Conference, 750 girls. I was invited by the YWCA, and the next day they said so-and-so room for the congregational, so-and-so room for the Presbyterian. We looked at each other. The girl that had invited us said, "You must be congregational. Your missionaries were congregational." That's when I learned, after 20 years, what congregational I was.
Where had your father gone to school?
Nowhere.
In Keller, no?
No, there's no school. So he learned, after he came to Talas, he knew how to read and write. But he was
Armenian,
hungry.
or what did
Armenian.
He could read and write Armenian.
Armenian letters, Turkish language.
Oh, I think you mean Turkish letters. Turkish letters.
No. Armenian letters, Turkish language.
I see.
My father did not know how to speak Armenian.
I see.
I studied at school.
And at the Talas school. Okay. So did your father also learn in Talas, or he only sent his children to school?
He learned all his life. After I got married, he used to visit us. He wanted to write a pamphlet. Whenever I found time, I'd sit on the arm of his chair. "Now, Heidi, it's your turn. Ask me whatever you want." So I translate from Turkish to Armenian.
I see. And
it's a very interesting life.
What was his business?
He became a cook in order to stay with the missionaries. Their cook. At home, his father was wealthy. They had 7 vineyards, 2 vineyards and 7 wheat fields. He used to oversee them. So he had no chance to learn. So he came to tell us because he was really hungry for education.
Did he cooked for the missionaries, for the school
That's
children,
right.
or just for the missionaries?
No, the missionaries' families.
Families.
And later on, he cooked for the college.
Did he also cook at home when he came home?
No,
No.
my mother cooked. He was busy all day.
Did your mother have help at home?
No,
Just herself?
just us.
Did you used to have to help
Oh,
her?
yes. After work, I used to go. Talas is well water. So I used to go to the well, draw the water, put it in my container, and supply my mother with all the water that she needed for the next day. And then I used to clean the chimneys of the lamps.
Oh, the
And
lamp.
refilled with kerosene.
Uh-huh.
At night we used lamps,
Kerosene lamps.
no candles,
Right.
just lamps.
Right. Were those your duties? Did the other
Oh.
children have duties?
Oh, they were younger than me. I'm the oldest.
So you had all the work. What else did you help her with?
Oh, whatever we needed when she washed, I helped. And we sweep, we clean, whatever. We never asked. My mother would say something, and we'd do.
I see.
Automatic.
Uh-huh.
We had a cow to
Oh, no.
supply our milk in the city. We had chickens to supply our eggs in the backyard.
Where were the animals kept?
The cow would be in his shed. In the morning, the cowmen come and take them to pasture. My mother, I used to watch her, used to milk in the morning 1 bucket full, and in the evening another bucket full.
Oh, she did the milking too. Other than drinking the milk, did you do anything with it? Make anything
Anything
else?
she wanted to.
What about other food? Where did you get it from?
Oh, American missionaries have buyers. They used to buy. No woman goes out to the market in Talas
Oh,
or anywhere else.
uh-huh.
We had a backyard which she planted whatever she wanted. I helped her. And they chopped for us whatever my father wanted them to.
Did you live where did you live? In a special house or?
Oh yes, several houses I remember. The last house that we were exiled from was my kindergarten.
I don't understand. Were you living at the school?
No,
And the
you
mission
live
compound?
in the city.
You were in the city. Oh, I see. But that used to be your kindergarten.
Yeah, the last house that we had rented, we were exiled from with the same
Right.
kindergarten school.
And all the houses that you lived in, you rented.
Yeah,
Who did you rent from?
from the owners. I don't
I
know.
see. Were they Armenians, the owners? Do you know whether?
I really don't know.
Okay. A proportion of Armenians to Turks in Talas.
There's the Turks lived downtown Talas, and the missionaries, Armenians, lived on the upper part.
I see.
The
Upper
Greeks,
meaning there were like a hill.
it's a hill. It's Talas built on a mountain. The house that my brother was born to had 101 steps down to the Turkish and Greek section.
Were there many Greeks?
quite a few.
Did you?
But they mixed with the Turks, but we didn't.
Did you have any association with the Greeks?
Oh yeah, we had friends, Greek friends. There were some up where we lived, the upper section of Talas.
But they associated more with the Turks than the Armenians. About, were there many Greeks, or
Lots of them.
did they have?
I hid. No, I'm jumping now. After the school was taken, after 1915, the Americans hid me among the Greeks.
Oh, I see. Did the Greeks have their own church? Did they have a Greek Orthodox church?
They did.
In Talas?
Downtown.
Downtown there was a Greek Orthodox church. Was there an Armenian church, not a Protestant one, but was there a Rusa-Gorchagan church?
Upper section, there was an Armenian church donated by Gulbenkian brothers.
How do you know that?
Because we heard so.
Oh,
After I came to New York, Gulbenkian brothers heard of me and came to my office. I used to work for Nearest Relief because they needed 3 languages and I had it, Turkish, Armenian, and English. So he came and he inquired about his church.
which Gulbenkian was this now?
I really
You
don't know which one was it.
Okay.
I wish I knew.
But that's interesting. What year would this have been?
1920.
In 1920, he came to your office and inquired. What news did you have to give him about the church?
Oh, I told him how they cut the cross above the church steeple.
Oh, who did this? Who cut the cross off?
Turks.
Were
They took it.
Were
and
they
painted
soldiers?
all the pictures inside.
What did they paint? What?
Plain paint.
Oh,
Later on,
Uh-huh.
my nephew went to Constantinople. He said, Auntie, the paint that they had put had peeled off. And the pictures were still beautiful.
That's interesting. This was how much later? How much?
About 10 years ago.
Oh, he visited about 10 years ago. And it kept 10 years ago, was it a museum?
It was back
or
to the Armenians.
In Talas?
Back to the Armenians.
But with a cross on top?
No, the cross was gone.
Gone, I see. The people who took the cross down, did you see them? At the time,
I did not see, but other people told me how they watched them
go up.
Break the cross off the steeple.
I see. And now, when the missionaries did the shopping for
us only.
Oh, only for you because your father worked there. I see. Did your mother also have to obtain cloth or non-food items from the missionary shopping, or could she go shopping for those things herself?
No, if they wanted cabbage comes huge. Then they send it.
No, things like clothes or yard goods. In other words, items that were not for food. How did she get those things?
My uncle from Keller used to send our wool. He had lots of sheep. And we washed them. I have written in my book how we washed them, where we washed them. We dried them, we spun them, we knit with them. 1 year, even my mother used to I used to fill her shuttles to make yardage. One of the jobs that I did when she was doing fill up her shuttles.
So you prepared your cloth from pure
From
virgin wool.
everything.
Did you do the dyeing too?
Oh yes.
Could you tell us a bit about that? What dyes did you?
I have a chapter on dyeing. Yeah, we used to go to the hills and collect some bead-like seeds, and each one has a different color. My mother used to spin from the wool, and then 3-ply, 4-ply, whatever you wanted, then she dyed them.
Unwoven.
And she'd dye in these vegetables, whatever they were,
The seeds. What colors did you get from these seeds?
To get brown, she used to boil them in nutshells, the outer shells, when they're green. You get brown from them.
I see. So that when they're still the green shells of the walnuts, with the seeds, with the bead-like seeds, or just the walnut?
The seeds are different colors.
Okay.
My mother knew, I don't remember, but I only picked them for her.
Did they have names? In
They had,
Armenian
but
or
I don't
Turkish?
remember, so many years back.
I see. And what, all right, what other colors did you get?
I have a chapter for my grandchildren explaining how we dyed Easter eggs from onion shells.
Oh, I see. Could you use the onion shell color for wool also?
I don't remember. Maybe she did, but it was special for Easter eggs.
Were you able to get blue dye or green dye, or was it mostly brown?
Brown,
What
red.
colors do you remember? Red.
Red.
Where was the red color from?
It depends, different shades, because it depends on how much of those beads you put in. How much ever we found. And my mother used to get a skein and tie it, a knot in the center. And when it got dyed, when you undid the tie, it was multicolored.
Oh, that's interesting.
It is very interesting.
And so you remember the red, the brown, blues, greens?
Green maybe, but I don't remember blue.
But blue you don't. Also, did she add something other than the organic material, plant material? Did she add anything?
Vinegar.
Vinegar.
I don't know how much. Because I was a little girl. I'm surprised I remember that much.
So you remember the vinegar. Anything else?
I don't know.
And did she cold dye or heat and dye? Did she dye the? I'm sorry. Did she heat the dyes, or do you remember whether she had?
Oh yeah, there was hot dye, because she used to use sticks to pull it up, the skein.
Where did she do this? All this yardage work and
In
the
the back,
dyeing?
in the front yard.
In the open. I see. And what about winter? How was the winter?
No, winter we knit them.
Oh, so all the dyeing
Crochet,
work
knit, all the outdoor work is done.
in the summer.
In winter, we knit them. Your stockings, your whatever you need, sweaters.
Did you used to knit as a child?
Sure, I still do.
And the stockings, did you knit, with how many needles did you use?
4, 5 needles.
5 needles. Is that what you wore?
Yes, that's what we wore, long stocking, because Talas is snowland. You have to be clothed warm.
And in addition to those wool stockings, what kind of shoes did you wear?
We had high shoes and low shoes. High shoes for winter. The shoemaker comes and takes our print, our feet, and makes the shoes. High shoes for winter.
When you say high, like up to the knee, or
no, only about that much.
Oh, above the ankle. I see. And then low shoes are...
And for summer.
Summer.
And most of the time we take our shoes, go barefoot. Lots of fun.
Right.
When it rained, I just take my shoes off, tie them together, put around my neck, and take my stockings off and walk in the puddles home.
Would your mother become upset?
No.
No, she didn't mind.
No.
Did the other children do things like that too?
Oh, they were younger. My brother went to boys' school, so I didn't have much to do with him except playing with him.
Did you play with other children in the neighborhood?
Oh, sure.
Where you played in the street, or where did you play?
Mostly in the street.
Did your parents ever tell you not to play in the street,
No.
or was there any fear of anything happening?
No fear until 15.
And you said it was on the Talas is on a hill, right? And is it very steep, or is it, in other words...
101 steps from our house to the Greek sessions.
So,
the street is called 101 steps.
Steps.
101 sokak.
Oh, that was the name of the street. And were the houses made of wood or stone?
No, mostly rock.
Rock.
It's a rocky mountain.
Were they steep roofed or flat roofed?
Flat roofs.
Could you go from one yard to...
That's right. From one roof to the other, you can walk through the block.
And what if you go down? In other words...
No, you go down.
So was your front yard... did your front yard become somebody's roof eventually?
No.
It wasn't quite so steep. Because there are some towns like that. And what was all the way below the hill?
Well...
Were they fields, or... In other words, if you went all the way down, just houses?
Houses and streets. And people draw their water from wells.
Only wells. But was that water plentiful, the well water?
I have a chapter, Wells of Talas. I explain how they get the water, when they get the water.
Did the water freeze in the winter?
Oh, yes.
What did you do then?
Well, the wells don't freeze.
Oh, that's what I wanted to know.
No,
the well water
don't freeze.
Okay, that didn't freeze.
They're secluded. They're closed tops.
Did everybody have a well, their own well?
Some rich people had their own wells.
What about you? Where did...
No, we used the city wells. We couldn't afford.
And anybody could go and use the city wells. Had you ever seen a well being dug?
No, but I have seen the well refilled, cleaned.
How is that done? How can you...
When the water gets too low, it gets muddy. They hang a man down there who fills up buckets full of mud, and the other man pulls it up. That's how they empty the mud. And then in the morning they reroute water that goes like a river way up. And they open up a space that it comes through the city.
From above to the well.
particular well.
Uh-huh.
They have several wells.
Right.
So reroute anywhere they want.
Right.
In the down the street, everybody washes the street. They wash their rugs.
Oh, while this is coming
Yeah.
down.
And the streets get clean.
Uh-huh.
After midnight, nobody can step out. It has to be clean water. The streets are clean, and they open up the well. All night long, this clean water runs in there and fills it up.
So
They shut from up there.
okay, then that water, where would it go?
Above it.
That's unusual.
Way up, because Talas is still healing.
So these wells weren't really wells where water came from,
No.
percolated
You
from
had-
the ground.
You had to fill them.
Then-
Otherwise, you had no water. They don't sprout. What would you call if they come from the beneath?
I think they're percolate, or
Yeah.
I
Well,
see.
no, these are man-filled, man-made wells, and man used, refilled.
When,
You have
You-
to read my chapter about it.
all right, was there much rain?
Oh yes, seasonal.
And how were the summers?
Oh, not too hot, because Kayseri people used to come to Talas for vacation, because Kayseri is very hot. They think that it was an ocean once, because it's all sandy and it's flat and it's hot. So rich people from Kayseri come to Talas, rent houses, and vacation there.
What was the geography like right around Talas? Were there high mountains or just high or
we
hills?
have two mountains, Ergias. I have the pictures of those.
Ergias and
Ergias, and the other one we used to walk up during the school years.
then
So they're mountains.
could you see these from where you live?
Sure, anywhere.
What kind of games did you play with your friends?
I don't know. Rope, balls, catch.
Yeah.
At school we used to imitate the ball games of America. I was a great ball player.
What kind of ball games? How did you know what? Who taught you?
The missionaries concocted some sort of a mixture games I see now.
Is there anything special you remember about the games?
No. All kinds of games, anything you want.
Did you also play with boys your own age?
No, the boys don't go to school in the same building. The boys have different building, the girls have different building.
So your first, from kindergarten, you began with the missionary school.
Yeah, that's also missionaries.
That was missionary.
Or the Lusavarchagan, they have their schools.
Okay, you went to which kindergarten?
To American
Kindergarten.
kindergarten, because my father was connected with them.
And what languages were you taught?
3 languages, Turkish, Armenian, and English.
And who were your teachers? Do you remember their names?
Missionaries and postgraduates.
Do you remember any names of teachers?
Oh yes, I have lots of names.
Well, give us a few, and the ones that are most memorable for you.
One of them was my classmate's sister who had graduated from there, Ranush Yardımyan. And her sister today is my classmate, is in Los Angeles Armenian Old Folks Home. Püzantui Yardımyan.
Zantui Yardımyan is your friend?
Yeah. Do you know her?
Yes.
You do?
Yes, I'll talk to her. I'll talk with you about her.
Oh,
That's fascinating.
my classmate. She was a nurse with me. She was a teacher with me at the Protester. We were three of us there.
Okay, so Püzantui yourself and who?
Zabel Belyan.
Is Zabel Belyan still living?
No, she died.
I see.
Püzantui and I are the only ones left.
That's interesting.
Now she's gone blind.
Püzantui, a little. I think she still sees a bit. I'm not sure.
Somebody had answered my letter, typing her message. A few lines she had written in Armenian. Thank you, sister, for all the years that you have corresponded with me. This seems to be my last letter.
Oh, I see.
When you go, please go see her and give her my love.
I will do that. That's very...
Yeah, her sister was our teacher. Arshak Yakupyan was our teacher, who's an old lady now in a wheelchair.
Where, Arshak, where is she? She must be in her 90s then.
Yeah.
Do you keep in touch with her?
Oh yes, we all correspond with each other. We're only 6 left.
From that class? And the teachers?
From the school.
I see. Now, till what grade did you attend the missionary school?
Until junior.
Junior
I
high
never
school?
graduated. None of us graduated.
Oh, all right. When you say junior, that would be what grade? Like you after the 6th grade, you finished the 6th grade.
No, the regular high school junior.
High school junior, so something like 10th grade.
And we always kept abreast with the American education. That's why when I came here, I could work 3 months after I arrived in a nearest relief office.
So, okay.
I knew enough.
How much, what subjects did they teach you in the higher grades? In 9th, 10th
Algebra,
grade?
geometry, English. I had 4 languages. I wanted to take more Greek.
Oh, they gave Greek too?
Oh yeah, they had. We had Greek students also.
I see. So you could take Greek if you wanted to, or
Greek.
you had to?
No, Greeks were Christians.
No, I'm saying, I'm sorry, Greek language, was that a requirement for
No,
you? It
for
was,
the Greeks was. But I asked for it because I used to learn from my classmates. The principal said, Rebecca, you're a born linguist. I didn't know what linguist meant. I kept on repeating in my mind, linguist, linguist, linguist. I'm ashamed to ask her, what does that mean? He said, you already have 4 languages. The Old Armenian, Krapar, the New Armenian, English, and Turkish with the Arabic letters.
So this was Ottoman,
required.
Ottoman Turkish. I see.
It was required.
And they also taught you classical Armenian?
Oh yes.
Who taught this to you? Who was the teacher for that?
I don't remember the name. Takuhi, or your Takuhi. She said, you already have 4 languages. When you graduate, this will be the youngest class. And then you can have the Greek. You don't have to bother with the 4 languages. Then you can take Greek. But I never graduated. I never took Greek.
Were there there were Armenians in the school, there were Greeks. Were there other ethnic groups?
One Turkish woman came with an escort every day, a Pasha's daughter.
That was all. You only.
One Turkish woman.
Did you play with her, or?
Oh, sure.
Oh,
No
so there
difference.
was no
No,
difference.
no difference.
Were there any other peoples in Talas, other than Greeks and Turks and Armenians?
No,
Were there Kurds?
no.
Not that you know. Okay. No. That's what. Well, so we have to find out. Now, by the 10th grade, you must have been about 13, 14 years old. How old do you think?
15.
15 years old. It was
I was a
1915 then. Had they given you hygiene lessons by this time?
No.
No?
I often wondered why they didn't. Evidently, we're too clean.
Oh, which reminds me, where did you have baths? At home? Did
At
you
home.
go to bathhouses?
Oh, I hated that Turkish bath. It's so hot. Once a month, my mother would take us to Turkish bath. But at home, she had 5 children, one after the other. We had a big bucket of hot water. One after the other, she'd bathe them. And then in that same water, she'd soak the clothes.
Oh, to wash them.
You see, you have shortage of water.
But the Turkish baths, the public baths,
If you like hot bath, go there.
but did you go there all day for
No.
how long
Oh,
did
it takes
you stay?
half a day.
About half a day. Did you take food with you?
Oh, yes.
And the boys came with you also?
I don't remember my brother going.
Which, the younger one or
The older one.
the older one?
Hmm.
And your father?
Maybe they went with older boys. I have no idea. I have to ask him.
No. Well, actually, when I asked about hygiene, I was wondering who first told you about menstruation.
Nobody.
No, your mother? Did
Your
she
friends tell you who has gone through the experience.
So, in other words, was it a surprise to you when it happened, or?
Well, it happened to my friends. It happened to me quite late. I was slow at it.
But you were were you in
Yeah,
school
but
at
I
the
knew.
time? That you knew what would happen, so you weren't surprised. And then at this time, then you didn't know anything. If you asked where babies came from, what were you told?
No, that's a shame to ask such a question.
In other words, you knew not to ask, or if you did ask, they would tell you it's a shame.
I don't know, they always shied, so you wouldn't ask. Even though I remember my youngest brother, when he was born, my mother said, go get the midwife. I ran about a mile to get her. We started, Talas streets are cobblestone. And I somehow twisted my ankle. She looked at it, she said, take it easy, don't put weight on that leg, I'll go now. You come slowly. When I went there already, hopping on one leg. And my brother was born.
I see.
And she had my mother had started the water, hot water. She had hot water. She bathed my ankle with soap and rubbed it. And she said, don't put weight on it tomorrow when you go to school.
This was the midwife did this. But you did not see your brother born.
No, never.
Was your father present there?
No man is present at the childbirth. They're not modern. They're 80 years back.
And for the first few days or weeks, who took care of your mother?
Neighbors.
Neighbors?
Sure. There's no doctor. It's only midwives.
If you would get sick, did you have a
American
doctor?
missionaries, doctors would come.
I see. Do you remember having any serious illnesses?
I never had, my sister had, I was not, it was contagious, whatever it was. The doctor said, you don't go to school. I cried. And the next day my mother, when the doctor came for my sister, he said, okay, you go to school, but don't come near your sister.
I see. Well, that's the only time I remember. Right. So what happened that you didn't continue after the 10th grade? Was there
what?
What happened that you didn't continue after the 10th grade?
Oh, we were taken by the Turks.
How did that happen?
One Easter morning, the Turks have a regulation that they do special things, special days of ours. For instance, they hung 10 men on my brother's graduation day.
When? On your brother's graduation day?
Yeah. You see, the girls and the boys graduate together. We pitch a high tent. And instead, we had the graduation in the girls' dining room with the windows shut.
So this must have been in late spring.
1915.
In 1915.
I have my brother's diplomas, pictures.
I
have copies made of. You can have one.
Okay.
And
now, the day of your brother's graduation, this was, I don't know, this was in June or May?
The date written on the
diploma.
diploma.
I see, because you also mentioned Easter, that's why.
Yeah, they do. They confiscated all the schools on Easter Day.
What do you mean confiscated?
Well, they took the children from the schools, from the Americans, from Germans.
Oh.
All the students, including my 2 sisters and 1 little brother.
All 5 of you?
Now, my brother escaped, moving a piano incognito with the 3 other teachers to the Greek house. That's how they escaped.
Oh, I see. So he was pretending to be moving the piano. Now, was this before or after his graduation?
After his graduation, he was teaching at the German orphanage.
Okay, where before
they had a Greek supervisor. They moved the piano for her to her house and heated her basement.
I see. How old would he have been at this time? You were...
He's 5 years older than I.
Okay, so he was about 20.
I have the dates if you want to.
Yeah. Okay.
Then
when there was a German orphanage.
At Zinjidera, I'm surprised you have that on the map.
Okay,
the same building my brother taught.
Zinjidere, there was a German orphanage. How close is Zinjidere walking?
1 hour walk from Talas.
Okay, so that's what I don't know. Is it on his graduation that you said some Turks?
That was in Talas.
In Talas, which brother's graduation?
Big brother. The little one is Lil.
So that the 20-year-old's graduation. He must have been graduating from what, high school or college? So on that day...
American college.
Right.
That day, they hung 10 lawyers and doctors.
So Armenians? Lawyers?
Armenian, sure.
And
I have the picture of 3 of them hanging upside down.
These are Talas people?
In Kayseri.
Oh, Kayseri. So you didn't see,
No,
but you how do you know about, and who told you?
I have the picture taken by missionaries. After they hung them, people could go. Evidently, they had a camera. They took picture.
Okay, so why then was your brother's graduation with closed windows?
No, they do special things on special days. Your famous days, like Easter, they confiscated every school in the district, Zinjidera, Talas, whatever, on a certain holidays, special days.
Okay, no, it's all right. So the day of your brother's graduation,
Yeah,
they hung
yeah,
some people where in Kayseri.
in Kayseri.
So
We are the graduation in Talas,
Mhm.
and they hung the people in Kayseri. They left them hanging there 24 hours.
I
For
see. When
people
did
to
word come to you to?
Oh, we knew, the missionaries knew. That's why they changed the tent graduation to the dining room. We had
Why
to go
did-
back and tell the people not to come. It's only for the family. The dining room doesn't hold any.
Oh, I see.
So only the family came to graduation. I remember when we got home, my brother threw his diploma on the bed. He said, "What good is that?"
I see.
Then our troubles started all anew.
Right. So now on the day that they confiscated the students in the schools, right? They took, your brother escaped with the piano to
Yeah.
the Greek's house,
Yeah.
the oldest brother, and then the other three children were taken.
They were taken.
And where were you?
I was in bed, isolated for scarlet fever on the top floor of the girls' dormitory.
Ah,
My sister had come for Easter vacation from Zinjidera.
was she?
They had a sick girl with scarlet fever. She was a carrier. She slept in my bed, and she gave it to me and went back. The girl died after.
Oh,
When my brother escaped, Gira Calliope, Tahmisian, hid them in her basement. She said 3 days after, "You better get out of it. They're coming to investigate my house."
okay. So,
So,
1 minute. You said Calliope Tahmisian. Now the first name is Greek.
Yeah.
Why is that?
He married the principal of Greek orphanage, Badveli Tahmisian.
I see. So she had married Badveli Tahmisian.
You're observant.
No, so the Greek. So there was a Greek orphanage, a German orphanage.
Greek
When you say, is it?
principal, Armenian minister, Badveli Tahmisian, his wife, Greek Calliope. And they were serving Greek orphanage.
Why was there a Greek orphanage?
No,
Not
I
just-
meant German orphanage.
Oh, there was a German orphanage, and then the rest were American schools, American missionary schools.
That's in Talas.
In Talas.
This is in Zinjidera.
In Zinjer, there's the German orphanage. I see. Okay, so
Miss Gerber was the principal of that school. I have a whole chapter and her picture, and she has given my father a picture of Jesus
I see. So
from Germany. She has another story. She was a dancer in Germany when she was young. She had consumption. And
she had conception.
yeah, TB.
Oh, consumption.
Yeah, and It was a custom for a dying person to give her things to her friends. She gave. One day she came to herself, she says, "Are you there, God? Are you in existence? If you are real God in existence, heal me and I'll serve you." Sure enough, she got well. Some of the things that she had, they gave her back to her, and she came and started an orphanage at Zinzidere.
I see. So this German orphanage
Yeah.
was started. What
Miss
was
Gerber.
Miss Gerber from Germany?
That's right.
Nice.
A dancer became a missionary.
Right. So
Amazing stories.
right. Let me understand the part where they took the children when you already had scarlet fever when they came to
I stayed up there all by myself.
all alone.
Nobody would come near me.
So did you know what was happening?
Oh, yes. I passed out on Good Friday at the dining room. I was isolated up there. And on Sunday, they took them. My sister came from downstairs, said, "Sis, what shall I take?" I assigned her to a favorite teacher of mine, Ariyat Gülizar Baltaya. So they went to Kayseri to rich people's houses, imprisoned.
When you say imprisoned, they had to stay in these.
Yeah.
Were the families of these houses
No.
there?
No, they
No?
were already exiled.
Oh, so they were taken and kept in these houses.
Yeah.
So your two sisters and youngest brother were taken to these houses. Okay.
Two sisters came from two different schools, from American school and Zinzidere German school. Because of their age, they were put in the same room. And my little brother was in another building.
Okay. Now, you were all alone in bed. Okay. You stayed there 2 days alone. Then what happened?
8 days.
8 days alone. Were you able to eat anything?
The missionaries would send a tray.
You said the missionaries were sending you food, but no one was staying with you. What about at night?
The first 2 nights, a nurse stayed with me. Yeah. Then at night I heard her talking with the balcony before. She was in quarantine. And then I asked her, "What's the matter?" She didn't say they were going to be exiled in the morning.
Oh, I see.
I don't know what happened to her. She never came back. So the missionary would send, they'd put the food on a tray in front of my door. If I could get up, I'd eat whatever I wanted. The rest stayed there, got sour.
This nurse, was she Armenian or?
Oh,
American?
yes.
So you stayed this way for 8 days?
And I walked down 4 flights after 8 days of scarlet fever. I had no medication. I had no care that I didn't die.
Okay, so they stopped giving you food after a while?
No,
Or
they
the
sent
food
the
kept coming?
Oh, yeah.
Why did you walk down?
Because nobody would dare to hold me. I had to walk down alone because I'm contagious.
Well, were you feeling better by this time?
I suppose so. Or youth has inner strength. Even old people, you'd be surprised how much strength we have when we need. So Americans in their building had kept the room for me, even plugged the door keyholes so the germ wouldn't go out.
I see.
I stayed there. And Arsia Yakubian was also hiding there. Her father was in Kayseri, all the schools' principal, all the Armenian schools' principal, they killed him. Have you read her mother's exile story? Beloved Armenia?
I've heard of
Banker.
it. I've heard of it,
Yeah.
yes.
I have them.
Now, you walked down.
I went to the missionaries' building and stayed there.
Stayed there how long?
Oh, about a month.
Was it
They
close?
hid me.
Oh, was the missionaries' building close to the?
Oh yeah, in the
In
compound.
the compound.
In
So,
the compound.
okay, and then after a month.
And they hit me with Greek people, downtown Oakland.
Right. Downtown. Talas.
Talas.
Downtown Talas.
Yeah. I hid there with goats. It's a long story.
That's all right. You hid with goats. What else? So you were in the, or you stayed with the animals all the time.
Yeah.
How long?
Across the street from this lady, she had a goat yard with 3 goats. She used to bring food to the goats and water, and she'd bring something for me. She got paid by the missionaries. Next door to her was another Greek lady who had a tenant, counselor. Greek counselor. During the war, he was stranded here. He couldn't go back to England.
I see.
So my lady got sick. I was hungry for 3 days. I ate acorns from the goats. Have you ever eaten acorns? Fidane?
What is the word?
Acorn.
No, what is it in, what word did you use? Armenian word did you use or Turkish?
Palut. It's
Palut.
Turkish.
Palut. And
Yeah.
it's an
I don't-
acorn. Were there bags of acorns there?
No, she had brought some for the goats, so there was left over. I ate that. I drank from their water. For 3 days, the lady didn't come. After 3 days, I had a door knock, but it was not like my lady. And she said, "Open up the gate." She says, "I'm your lady's friend." When I opened the door, she had a dish, beautiful dish with a cover on top. She said, "Consolos sent this." I said, "Who's Consolos?" I came out to find out that Consolos walked on the flat roof and overlooked my cave, the yard. At night I slept in the cave. Daytime I sat with the goats. He goes to his landlady. He says, "Who's that young girl with the goats?" She says, "Don't talk." He said, "Next door neighbor hides her with her goats." He says, "I never saw anybody taking food. Oh, the lady is sick." So he makes this içli küfte outside with potatoes instead of bulgur and meat, and fried it, deep fry. This was in that dish. When I picked the cover, heavenly smell. I ate my küftes that night. I knew that my God had not forgotten. The next day, she said, "In the morning, I'll come and cross the street with you. Don't open the door at night to anybody. I won't come before in the morning." So every morning, she'd come and cross me to her house with the Consolos. Now the 23rd Psalm is very true. I had everything to eat. I had love and compassion.
So this Greek consulos took care of you. And he just had what, a caretaker lady with him, or did he have a
This
whole
lady took care of him.
I see.
You see? And then the missionaries were told to get out of the country. Now they didn't know what to do with me. I'm hiding. Nobody would pay for me. And they said, okay, it's time. The Turks asked them, did the sick girl die?
Oh.
And they couldn't lie. They said, no, she's alive. Well, we want her back. So I went back. By then, the prison, my classmates, including Pizantier, had become nurses. So I joined them in Zinjidere, the same building that my brother was a teacher. And my sister and brother were orphans there. I became a nurse to the same building.
Oh, now, okay, what the missionaries told the Turks where you were? Is that how they found you?
They took me. I have another chapter how my missionary teacher came to my cave and took me, and we walked all the way down to Zinjidere.
Couldn't they have said they didn't know where you were?
No, they wouldn't lie. They wouldn't lie. So they said, this is God's will. You better join your sisters.
I see. So how, and this was a hospital in Zinjidere?
Yeah.
Well,
Calliope's father had a church. Right across there was a building. He had 4 rooms with 16 girls. We had 4 beds in each. And we lived there at night, and we went to work to the hospitals, different hospitals. But they took care of us very strictly. Nobody could touch us.
Who took care of you?
Turks.
Oh, I see. And who was in the hospital? What kind of...
We went there in the morning.
Right, what, the patients? What patients?
Oh, soldiers. Young men, all wounded.
But you didn't know nursing, did you? I mean, you weren't
we learned
trained.
on them.
You experimented on them?
I have a chapter, first operation. I have a chapter, first death that I met. I have chapters for everything.
So you did all kinds of work that a nurse would do?
No, we never gave a bedpan, we never changed sheets.
I see.
Unlike, we were like head nurses, learning to operate, learning laboratory. The first time I saw regular water, swimming little creatures in there, I was really amazed. You don't see anything there. On the mic, you see. We learned them.
Who was training you?
Doctors.
What ethnic group were these doctors?
Turks.
They were Turkish doctors,
yeah.
and they were training
Government
you.
doctors.
I see. And you were 16 girls?
16.
What were your ages?
I have pictures.
What were your ages?
17 up.
From 17
17, 18 up.
I see. How old would the oldest have been?
Oh, not too old. I don't think there was 120.
And so you were well taken care of.
God provided that too. We had a Sertabib, a head doctor.
What was his name?
I don't know his name. We called them Sertabib, head doctors. He was always wanted to rub elbows with us. We always kept away. He was called back to Constantinople. Instead of him came another doctor who had a Greek wife. 2 little boys, a houseman, an Armenian, Asadotropalia, who was free to talk Armenian, so were we. That man, I understood later on, had become a Christian because of his Greek wife.
I see.
That's why he was very protective. One day, once a week, we went to Turkish bath you were speaking of. I had special sick patient. I had to give medication. We were always escorted with a Turkish guard or whatever. He was our servant.
To the bath?
Yeah.
Oh, he came and waited outside?
I said, you wait here. I go give the medicine and come back, because I cannot go alone. They waited. I went to the sick patient, and head doctor was there. He said, sister, I have trouble enough to protect you. Why do you come after bath? So beautiful. Our uniforms covered our hair. We could not show the hair, but the coloring, I always was reddish anyway. He said, I have trouble enough. Don't you ever come after bath or after hours. You come with a group, you go with a group.
I see.
That's how well he protected us. He brought us to Constantinople with him.
All right, well, now wait. How long did you stay at the hospital?
Until
How long?
armistice.
Until armistice, which was what year? 1918, okay.
I had to think twice.
In the meantime, had you had word of your brothers, sisters, parents?
Oh, my brother finally, oh dear, that's a long story.
No, I just want to know, during the time you were in Zingirdere, did you ever hear from any of your family?
My mother was exiled. I was there when the day she was exiled.
You saw her being exiled?
Oh yeah, I helped her.
How did that happen, since you were in Zingirdere?
No, that's before Zingirdere. My mother was exiled from our last house.
So you weren't ill then, yet?
No.
You weren't ill
I was
yet?
in boarding school.
Okay.
American boarding school when my mother was exiled.
Where was your father?
He had come before the war declared 3 months before to America.
Oh, so
3 months.
just
God has woven our pattern. And all we had to do wait and follow it.
so
Ignorantly.
So you came from boarding school to help your mother pack?
Yeah.
She asked you to come, or you had
I always went home.
Oh, but the other children where were the other children?
My sister, the one in New York, was with me. And,
At the boarding school?
Yeah, it's a boarding school.
Okay. And so on the day you were packing for
My
your
mother had bought a donkey for her exile. My brother had taken his things with that donkey to Zingirdere, his belongings.
The oldest brother?
Yeah, the one that was teacher at Zingirdere.
Who escaped with the piano.
And that's right. So I ran to the American Missionary Hospital to send a messenger for my brother to send a donkey or bring the donkey. God has wonderful ways. I turned around the corner, there was my brother walking down with the donkey from Zingirdere. I took the donkey, I said, you stay here at the hospital. My mother caravan will go that way. Then I had another problem. I took the donkey, we packed my mother's things, and the gendarme would not let my trunk go. I had a bearer. He wouldn't let my trunk go. Well, I had to have my trunk because I didn't have any clothes at school, just a few. Right then Mr. Irving showed up, coming from downtown. I don't know. I'm quite sure God sent him. He yelled at the gendarme. He said, "That's my girl. That's her trunk. Let her go." The load bearer took the trunk, and I walked with him. He said, "Go to the hospital and wait there."
I see.
And I joined my brother, my middle sister, and my little sister was supposed to go with my mother. My brother said, "I have arranged with the orphanage, it's a boys' school, but they're going to accept my sister, so you don't have to take." So my mother gave her bundle to me, and I took it to the hospital. I said our goodbye to my mother at the hospital gate.
Why did she come by the hospital gate?
The caravan, the exiles are going through there.
Was there any other family with her?
Lots of them.
Her other relatives.
No,
just
the
herself.
City. The city.
Okay,
The Polkagans. First they exiled the Lusavarchagans. And then they said, no Polkagan is going to be exiled. Yeah, they called it replacement.
Displacement.
Yeah.
I see. But then they said no Polkagan will be exiled, but then they exiled.
Sure. Who believes Turks? Anyway, my mother said goodbye. She kissed each one of us. She said, if we don't see each other in the world, sometimes we'll meet each other in heaven. Don't ever become a Mohammedan for any reason. That was her last admonition.
Did you see her again?
No, never. She was only 38 years old. She walked as far as Aleppo.
Oh.
When I became a Red Cross nurse in Constantinople, I used the Red Cross stationery, wrote to Sir Pazal something in Aleppo. He said, yes, she came as far as here. They register them when they come. But she was exiled again. I don't know where she is. We never heard from her.
Now, how was it that your brother, no one had arrested him or had him go?
Oh, after Mrs. Calliope said, get out of here, my brother wanted to know if his Scarlet Fever sister had died. So he walked through the night.
No, okay. Your mother went, and it is after that you got scarlet fever, right? But at the time they took your mother, why didn't they also take your oldest brother?
They didn't find him.
Oh, he was hiding.
Yeah.
Okay. So they took your mother before or after the time they confiscated all the children?
Before.
Before
Well,
that.
we almost stayed at that school, boarding school, almost a year.
I see. And
And then they had no more exile. They had to take other occupation, confiscating children.
Oh, so it was a year after they took your mother. And that's when your brother and the piano story comes in.
That's right. He was teaching at Miss Gerber's story. Then he walked through the mud and ditches to come to me. Early in the morning, Arsiak Yakubian, whose mother's story you have read or heard of, she brought my breakfast. Your brother is here. I said, don't put my breakfast in because it gets contaminated. I said, take it to him. Never mind, you eat here. After a while, she opened the door. I fed your brothers, don't worry. And then Mr. Irving, one of the missionaries, had children. They had a tree house. So my brothers slept in the tree house and worked daytime for Mr. Irving.
I see.
And then when the missionaries were told to go, his principal, Mr. Wingate, collected teachers or boys. He made a map for them. You go to Adana. Adana was free. And they made knapsacks and food and everything that's necessary. He said, now you go to Adana. That's where they went. Daytime, they hid in the mountains, wherever they could. At night, they walked until they got to Adana. Many years after, when I came to Constantinople, I went to Bible House. I was going up. Mr. Wingate was coming down. We recognized each other. Hesitantly, he asked, where's your brother? Or any news from your brother? I said, he's teaching in Adana Armenian orphanage. And that man was a tall man, here standing above me. The tears rolled down his face. One of his boys was saved.
So then in 1918, then how did you leave Zincirlere? Tell us that. Tell us that.
The war had ended, we did not know. We were not told. The hospital closed. Sertabet, this nice doctor with a Greek wife, called us nurses to his room. He said, now, we are going to move. Some of you have relatives here. If you want to stay, those that have no relatives, it's best you come with us. I have a semi-diploma from nursing in Turkish, in Armenian, in English, translated. We were short of 3 months more to be RN.
I see.
We never became RN. He said, now we take you with us. And we give you a diploma. You can do anything you want after that. You can even serve us. By then, we knew that the war was ended. So we stopped at Izmit.
So all 16 girls?
No, only 6 girls.
What happened to the other girls?
The others had relatives, they stayed behind.
Oh, so there were some Armenians left?
Oh yes, some of them had become Turks.
Oh really?
Mohammedan, that's how they stayed. So these girls stayed with them. Some of them had married pashas, officers.
Who, the girls?
The girls.
How had that happened?
We were 130, 2 girls from our school. And these, to save their families from exile, became wives of the officers. One of them came, my classmate came where we were nurses at Zincirlere. He said, look at me. He said, why don't you accept it? It's temporary. God knows your heart. I said, you go your way. This is what we have chosen. So
what about among the nurses, your friends in Zingirdere? Would some of them stayed?
No, those that came to Zingirdere as nurses never changed their religion.
Okay, and you all left together?
We all lived together in one big house.
No, but did you all leave together?
Yeah, we lived together. We had one of the girls' mother as a cook.
Now, when it was time to go?
Time to go to Constantinople?
Yes. That's why you said only 6 girls.
Yeah, because the others had rooms, places to go. We had no place.
Okay, so I see.
See, so we chose. I knew my father was in America. It's easier to go from Constantinople to America than from Zingirdere. I have no money, no place, no bread to eat. That was the wisest thing I could do. And the others were like me.
I see.
They all were aiming to America.
I see.
So we went with them.
And how did you travel?
By train. We stayed at Ulukışla, the train station, 15 days. Waited for a train.
I see.
And the train is not regular transportation, it's a load train. There are little windows way on top. They have huge crates from the hospital stuff. And we could not go by regular train.
I see.
So they put all these trains, they made it like steps. And nurses were up there. We could look down to them, but they could not see us up there. And so it took us 15 days to arrive to Constantinople.
You waited 15 days in Uluch.
And then we got the train. They loaded the train with all their properties and us. On the way, they used to get the ration wherever we got off, still in the government. And we came to Izmit. And from that little window, we saw some Armenians. They said, don't you know it's the armistice now? Come on with us. Well, we didn't know them any more than ours, men. They have never mistreated us.
These were the Americans you were with?
No, the Turks.
Oh,
Turk officers.
You went, I see.
Asadur, the head doctor's wife and 2 sons, Asadur had taken in the passenger train.
I see.
Back to Constantinople.
I see.
He came with his crew. All the secretaries and things like, and nurses. So we came with the load train. And
then did you stop in Izmit or you continued to?
No, we did not stop. Only one got out. And later on she joined us. She was not happy with her choice.
I see.
And Izmit people had wired or telephoned to Constantinople. We got off the train. Constantinople is just like San Francisco and Oakland. The train comes to Oakland. You have to cross the ferry, by ferry, to Constantinople. So we were on the ferry. When we were met with 2 priests, 1 English, and 2 Armenians. 5 people came, met us off the boat. They took us to the Galata church. That's how we were taken away from the Turks. But they had never been mean to us. They were our protectors.
They took you away, the two priests and the Englishmen and so on, was there any objection on the part of the Turks who brought you?
We told them they had not been our enemy. They had been our protectors, but they would not let us go back with them. So they left us. We said goodbye.
I see.
And went to the Galata church. The office was our headquarters. They put folding beds, chairs for these new nurses. They had no place to go.
There were 5 of you?
Yeah.
Or
6
of you?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's how we re-established Armenian Red Cross.
Who established Armenian Red Cross?
We did.
Just the 6 of you?
We had the power. It's amazing how many people wait for workers like you, willing.
So is this something you decided amongst yourselves to have a Red Cross?
They said, you're nurses, we need nurses.
Who said
I used
this?
to go, I did not know about Constantinople. I was always sent with an escort wherever I'm going. I had special girl the first time. It's funny, my escort, we walked from Galata to Pera. Do you know anything about Constantinople?
I've heard of the neighborhoods.
From Galata, which is near the ocean, to Pera.
Now, where would you go? Where would you be sent?
Wherever this man is going to take me to a sick girl.
I see. And who would give directions to where?
I don't know where the directions came. Because we were new. Later on we learned who they are.
Oh, will you tell me who they are?
Arakel Chakaria, who worked with me all the way through until I came to America.
I see now. Arakel Chakaria.
He is a Sorbonne University graduate. That's why the Turks kept him, because they needed him.
What, was he a doctor?
He's a chemist.
He was a chemist, I see.
Yeah. We found lots of medication with all the labels washed away. He tested and relabeled them so we could use for the refugees that came back.
Oh, now what refugees?
No. You want a whole book in one session. The refugees started coming back from everywhere.
Armenian refugees.
Yeah.
I see.
Who else is there? Armenian refugees started coming back by boat, by train, by walking, wherever they are, they managed to come.
I see.
Now we had to have the places for these refugees to come. We have to have nurses for these refugees. So we went on our job of salvation for the poor Armenians that are sick.
I see. Now, who was sponsoring Arakel Chakarian?
Oh, the whole Constantinople Armenian, I salute them. They did the most wonderful work. I don't know, we used to have clothing, we used to have food at the church. Every refugee came naked. Every refugee came hungry. Lots of nights we were nurse, we were secretary. We had to register everybody that came. Otherwise, next day they cannot have food or anything without a card.
I see. Did you have to find housing for them also, or
no
just
housing, anywhere they can find.
Oh, that was up to them.
Yeah. And churchyard, upstairs, the choir room, whatever is necessary. They didn't mind as long as they were away from the church.
What, these refugees, predominantly, what age group and what sex were they?
Well, mostly women, because they had killed a man. And the old had fallen on the wayside. So they were middle-aged mostly.
Were there children?
Not many.
Did any of these women, their physical condition, what physical condition were they in?
If they were sick, we were notified, we'd attend. Otherwise, they're all weak, malnutrition. What do you do when you come from exile?
Were any of them wounded?
No.
No.
I have a couple of chapters when I was the first hiding place, second hiding place, third hiding place. There was a woman that had seen her husband killed. Her husband killed. And she knew the law that the Turk don't touch insane people. So she got her baby in her arms, started running around calling her husband's name. They never touched her.
I see.
So she came to my hiding place, second hiding place.
This
And,
was in Talas now, or?
Yeah, Talas downtown,
Right.
the Greek section,
Right.
and with Greek. She came to Greeks too.
I see.
She knew that up the hill there were no Armenians left, so she knew about it. She came to Greek section. And she cooperated with the Greek landlady. There was a man there hiding. They had a trap door under the loom. He was doing the looming. When somebody came through the door or gate, he'd jump in, and this woman, Armenian, would pretend she was doing the looming.
I see.
That's how they got saved.
In Constantinople, when you were doing the relief work, were you paid?
Room and board.
Room and board. How long did you continue with relief work in Constantinople?
Okay, we did the relief work with Mr. Chakaryan. One day we were at the office as a sitting room, and the druggist, a young man came from the door. So Arakel, Ures. Asoruyorsa açgere gurna gula. Okay, we exchanged data. He said, she has two sisters. I gave my sisters 3 cards. I said, when you get to Constantinople, you write to me your address. 2 days before we left Sincidere, I got a card from them. I still have it. My Long Beach sister had written their address. And I couldn't do anything, so Arakel said, do you speak English, French? No. The druggist said, no, she speaks English. Okay, send her tomorrow, so-and-so time, to British Embassy. So I had an escort. I don't know where British Embassy is. So I went there. He had already arranged. The British Embassy's car, the many multicolored decoration man, I don't know what his estimation was, a priest, Arakel Chakaryan and I, went to this address, where it was the little card. It was empty. The neighbor said when the British came, they escaped to so-and-so place, but they don't let anybody in. They'll shoot you. They'll shoot you. And so British embassy wanted 5 volunteers. He gave them guns. Mr. Slade this time came with us, with the rest of us.
Who did he give guns to?
British embassy to the Armenian volunteers.
Gave them guns, I see. And you were there?
Yeah. No, he had given.
Oh,
we
he
knew
had
about
given.
it.
I see.
They said, if Mr. Slade has 1 gun, 1 shot, then you come to our rescue. You go there ahead of time and hide. So you watch for our gunshot. If we shoot, you come to the orphanage. You come to the orphanage. Help us. We went there. It happened to be Friday. We should have known. The doorman said, no, you cannot come in. Today is our holiday, our Sunday. All the male personnel has gone out. You cannot see the teachers or girls. Okay, Mr. Slade spoke English and French with Mr. Chakaryan, English with me. So he said, tell them that we sent this lady. Let her look around for her sisters. If you do anything wrong, I'll take all the students to the yard, whether you have a law not seeing a girl's face or not. So this man took me to a teacher. She took me around.
Was this what nationality was this teacher?
All Turks. All Turks. Turk students. But I claim my sisters were there. So I had to see. So room to room, we went with this lady teacher. One room I used to visit my sisters in Kayseri with this head doctor. Every time he went, he'd take me to see my sisters.
Yeah.
And there were 2 other Turkish sisters. They recognized me, I recognized them. Oh, Najia's and Atiya's sister. And I said, where are my sisters? Oh, they had gone to Haydar Pasha orphanage hospital, orphanage hospital. So I bent down to write, because I don't know the place. And then the teacher must have signaled them over my head. They didn't know anything else anymore. So I went out and told the British, he said, go take them all out. You know, when you have the power, you're so brave.
Who said this?
I was.
Oh.
I chased them all out with authority. They obeyed me. And we guessed. You know, you can pick Armenian among Turks. We picked, no, they're not Gavur, they're not Armenian, they're not Armenian. We didn't find anything. Then we found out, we came back. The next appointment was to the hospital. This time, Mr. Smith came also.
This is that Haydar Pasha hospital? Which hospital?
Yeah.
The one the Turkish girls mentioned.
Yeah. So we went there with 2 cars now. Because Mr. Smith, Mr. Slade, Derhayr, Arakel Chakaryan, I, the Gabas, too many. We used, it was a rainy day, and I rode in a sport car of a British embassy. Imagine me, don't have a penny. And we went to their huge boat.
A boat?
We got over the boat. They had a small motorboat.
Okay,
Now,
I don't. You're going where? I don't.
Haidar
You're
Pasha
going to Haidar Pasha?
from the bridge.
Bridge. Okay.
See, Pera is their embassy.
Mm-hmm.
They came as far as the bridge, left the cars there, crossed over the big boat,
Right.
and then went down to motorboat.
I see.
Now, Mr. Slade had a funny thing. Every time Derhayr wanted to go forward, which he's used to, he'd pull him back, ladies first. Ladies first. I wish he hadn't done it. So he pulled the Derhayr. He said, "Excuse me, but I have to go first because it's a rope ladder. If you slip fall on me, don't fall over the ocean." So we went down. Oh, the beauty of that boat, spick and span. Any woman would be proud of it if they could keep their kitchen so clean.
Whose
But
boat was this?
Huh?
Whose boat was this?
British embassy. Everything is British. The poor girl has a big uncle. So we went down, we got in, and then after we got to Haidar Pasha, they rented 2 cars. We filed in, we went to the hospital. And we asked for the girls by their Turkish name.
What?
And they said they got well. We sent her to another orphanage.
How did they get a Turkish name?
Oh, you don't have an Armenian name. And they have been there 3 years now. They're well educated in Turkish writing.
How did you know their Turkish names?
Oh, because on that card that I have, I've been hunting with, the names are there.
Oh,
And then when they was at Kayseri, they had their name.
Oh, so you knew from Kayseri.
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
So sometimes we think we're telling, but we skip so many things. And but the head man wanted to find them today. So they hired another 2 cars. We went to their orphanage. 180 girls, well educated. You should see their art workshop. I looked after. And it happened to be that all the school's president was there that day in that building. He met us. And then,
What was the name?
I don't know. Armenian papers wrote him as lying, but I don't think he lied. He did not know. These girls were Armenian.
He did not know. All the girls?
No, not all of them. Some of them. They had been transferred from Kayseri. And so we asked them with their Turkish names. And he said, "We have no Armenian girls here." But we I swear on my honor that we have no Armenian girls. And they said they're at diner now. After they finish, we'll bring them here to you to look over. We Armenians have become wise. I said in English to Commander, I said they could kidnap them. Diplomat as he was, he said, don't bother, we go there. So we went there. Now, down the basement, down the steps, I go first. Poor their high. He was pulled back again. Comedy goes with pathos. And I went there. The first table, second girl was my little sister sitting. I turned around, Arakel Chakaryan was next to me. He says, sister, what's the matter? I said, they're here. Go kiss it. So I went back and kissed my bewildered sister. Where from where the sister could come.
And which sister was this now?
This one in Long Beach.
Her name?
Siranush.
She was the older one, slightly older, the youngest.
Yeah. And then now I said, Siranush, I've come to take you home with me. I said, the war is over. She started crying, kind of loosened up, and I went around to see the other sister. And now they're all coming down. I don't know what they were doing. This must be very dramatic, but I was not paying attention to them. I'm looking for my other sister. She was sitting there. I had to pull that bewildered teacher off her chair.
What?
She's sitting there, they're dining.
Oh, it's for...
I pulled the teacher to get to my sister.
Oh, and so you couldn't get through?
Yeah, I couldn't get through, just tight like that. So I kissed her, and that's how we got them out.
And the other sister's name again, the
Siranush,
Anush.
Yeah.
Were there right there any other Armenian girls? Did you notice, or did you just find your
truckload afterward? Because my sisters knew who they were, even from the other place. They had been there before.
The other place was the first
place that we had gone people.
The Friday, the day you went
the
on
Friday. Yeah.
I see.
And
so
we brought a carload from there too.
I see.
Now we have no room for them. We have to have buildings. Now we collect all the orphans. I was not a nurse anymore. I was orphan collector. Lots of stories I have that I took with a Arsen named Zeytunsi boy, and was my escort. I'd go to the rooms, to the houses that using these girls as slaves, workmaids.
What, private houses?
Private Pasha's houses.
How would you know which houses to go to?
Well, somebody would tell us.
I see.
So and so place there's an Armenian kid. It's up to us to collect.
And we would go just yourself and this one boy, the Zeytunsi?
Yeah, that's my escort.
How old was he?
Oh, in his 20s, young boy.
Well, were you allowed?
Could you name? No, I said, hold your horses.
So that in English is shall I shoot, you would say. And then when you went to these families and you found someone you were looking for, was it easy to take them? How?
One of them, at the title on my book is Kuru Cheshme Girl. kuru çeşme. In Turkish means dry fountain. It's a city. We were notified there was a girl there. So we went there. We had a permit from British Embassy to get any soldier or sailor we needed them. We show our permit, we'd get the help. We got a Navy boy. We went to this house and we claimed a girl. The house lady said, no, there's no gavur here. There's no Armenian girl here. And this soldier is looking in the front room and dining room, naive people. We went down to basement and Arakel kicked the overturned coal basket. And it moved, but it didn't fall. He picked it up. There was a little girl there, all black suit on her face. He says, I'm not Armenian, I'm not gavur, infidel. I'm not infidel, but her fingers are crossed like that.
I see.
He's telling us that she is Christian, but she can't tell, but Madama is there. So I took her upstairs, washed her sooty face. We walked out. The car is waiting. And we took her home.
Were you must have been only about 19 years old at this time. Didn't you feel afraid or
No,
shy?
I had no fear because I had power behind me. And that's what I said. I pulled the teacher. I had power. What they had was transferred to me because I had a backer.
If you think about it, maybe about how many girls like this did you find, perhaps?
Oh, we got fine of them. And then there was no end, so British Embassy wrote, advertised in newspapers, 40 days. I wish I had a copy. 40 days it wrote, whoever has Armenian, even wife, bring it to Galata Church. That's where they came, swamps. I have a picture of one of the officers' wife that became our kindergarten teacher after we established another school.
These people came on their own.
No, they brought them.
Who? The Turks brought them.
They had to. The British Embassy was after them. It's
When-
so and so punishment if you don't bring.
See.
So they came. We had no place to put them.
Were there, when you went to look for people or when these people came, were there little boys too? In these...
No, forget about, we're in Constantinople now.
Yeah, in Constantinople.
Yeah.
When all the Armenians came from the homes, from Turkish homes, were there boys, little boys
Mostly
too?
girls.
Or mostly girls?
Mostly girls, because the girls can work.
I see.
And then one morning, Arakil came. He said, we're going to confiscate a building. Assign somebody else for your chores. So I found somebody else and I went with him. On the way, he told me what we're going to do. Again, we found a tall Navy boy in Pera. We walked about a mile and a half to a huge building. Has been used by an officer who had fled away when the British came. The house was ours. It was locked. The gates are locked. He must have known before. He must have looked at the place. No key, huge gate. He jumped on top of his shoulders, the soldier's, Navy boy's shoulder. He picked me up and put on his shoulder, now with 3 tears.
And you're in skirts or pants?
Oh, I could climb any tree.
I see.
Yeah. And so I got hold of the wall and jumped down.
I see.